Hello everybody, welcome to Tech Lovin', Jim from Tech Lovin'. I haven't done a video in a while, so I thought we should do one. So we're going to update our memory overclock that we were working on last time for a long time. So I've tweaked it a little bit more and found settings that were 100% stable. I've been very busy the last month, not only with work, but I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 builds all ready to go, and one on the bench, the one we're on right now. It's the same as last time. I haven't moved off that yet, except that what have we changed? We've got an AIO on it now from Cooler Master. We have the graphics card is swapped in and out quite a few times. There's now a 5700 XT on it, Nitro, Sapphire Nitro, 8 gig RAM, PCI Express 4.0, with fantastic RGB on the graphics card itself. I'll show you that after, but yeah, it's really nice, and because my motherboard is fully RGB, it actually controls the graphics card also without plugging anything in, even though the graphics card does have an ARGB connector on the graphics card that you can run to your motherboard, but I don't need to do that on this one. So yeah, I'm going to stick with this card in this build. This is, I think the CPU has changed since last time, because I think when we did it last time it was a 3600. It's now 5600X that's on here. The 3600, I actually lent it to somebody. It was having some memory controller issues, and I think I've heard of these in the past with the 3600s having some memory controller issues, because the memory controller sits on the die on AMD, and I believe it doesn't on Intel also now. I'm not sure. Can't answer that question. But so I gave it to him because he fixes all my motherboards that need repairing. Does a great job at it. His name is Dennis, and he's at. I gave him a motherboard too, just an MSI Tomahawk for his test bench. And we did kind of solve the issue with the 3600. So I told him to increase the SoC voltage to 1.2. It might be a little high, but it's not that bad at 1.2 volts. Usually you're setting that at 1.15 would be kind of your max, where there's some negative memory scaling above 1.15 on the SoC voltage. But at 1.2, it completely eliminated the errors, that the memory errors, and basically you're getting reboots. Anytime you tried to run a benchmark, it would crash on benchmarks, and yeah, that's what it ended up being, was the memory controller. Not the memory itself, but the memory controller on the die, because it didn't matter what RAM you had put in there, because I had changed the RAM multiple times thinking it was the memory, but it wasn't. You were getting the same errors. I had never changed the SoC voltage to 1.2 because I normally run 1.15 on my SoC, 1.15 or below. So I told him to change it to 1.2, and yeah, those issues went away. So anyway, this is the same one. This is the GSkill Trident Z RGB RAM. Same one we had last time, where I think we ended up getting it up to 3600, but not really beyond that. I believe it is Samsung B die, but it's really hard to find out. And there's not really nothing on the chip really tells me what it is. So anyway, getting back to, so I purchased over 30, less than 30, about 23 PC cases that were salvage lots, probably fell off the back of the truck. And out of those, there was only 2 that I had to basically, that were scrap. Out of them, I got the fence, but there was only 2 that were scrap. So that's pretty impressive. And obviously, I didn't pay a lot for them. So my dungeon here in the basement is, overfilled. I've already sold a couple of cases, which is great. And I sell them for less than retail. So that works too. So, I'm pretty close to recouping my money. I mean, obviously the biggest cost for me was the shipping. It cost me over $300 to ship them. Must be noted that I get no money from any of the manufacturers that I, on my builds or what I test and whatnot. I buy everything I have. I have been on some local parts hunts. I also bought probably 10 motherboards that haven't arrived yet, but they will. And a lot of them had bent pins, so I will send those to Dennis, and he will fix them. I didn't pay a lot for them, so if I get a couple that are not repairable, that's fine also. So I'm good with that. And how many graphics cards have I purchased? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I purchased 2 1080 Ti's. I just purchased 2 5700 XTs, and that's what's on this build right now. I'm just really impressed with it. I've had 5700 XTs before, but I really like this one. I've got a 6700 XT. I've got a 3060 Ti. Both my 2080s are Ti's. And I've got a 5600 XT. So those are cards that aren't in any builds. In my builds, I've got, I don't even know what I've got in my builds anymore. Yeah, I've got a couple of 5600 XTs, a couple of 1070s or 1070 Ti. No, just 1070s. Yeah, a couple of 1070s, I guess, in my builds. And, I also bought a water-cooled 1080. Which I got all the parts for also. Yeah, it's a 1080. So water-cooled 1080. And I completed a Ryzen 3 1300X build in an ITX. No, I'm sorry. It's an i3 10100 in an ITX build with a B560 motherboard. Tight little build, but what a beautiful case from Corsair. There is no RGB in it whatsoever. It doesn't have any glass panels. It's metal on both sides, and it's mesh on both sides. So that it's obviously a very small build, so it breathes very well. And I have the Gentle Typhoon fans in it, which I purchased also. I got those used off of somebody. They're there. Wow. They're quiet, and they're extremely heavy fans. I guess a sign of quality. Very good quality. They're called Gentle Typhoon, and I think I have another 4 or 5. So anyway, that was on, one of my recent parts hunt. I also bought a 3900X, and I have a 3090 coming that I purchased, and that was one of Dennis's that he repaired. So I have a 3090 coming. I'm going to pick that up next week. And yeah, I got to sell some of these builds here to pay for my bad habit. I have sold some of my tiny PCs on eBay, which is great. It seems to be the best, even though I find they're is their fee high? Well, no, not really. I don't think so. Not based on what I sell through eBay. I won't sell my big computers on eBay because the shipping is just, you never know what's going to happen in shipping. With the tiny PCs, they're pretty small. They fit inside a regular mailer box, which is fantastic. That and the power. So that's that's pretty good. You know, I'll show you what I mean, it's super crowded in here. It's just crazy. So, yeah. So unlike some of the other tech channels that are out there, I'm not saying any of them are bad in any way. They're not. Some I really like, others I don't like too much. And I'll call a spade a spade. I really don't like Linus Tech Tips at all. I think Linus is a hack. I like Gamers Nexus. Steve's pretty. He knows his stuff. He's pretty intelligent. I like Tech Yes City. I haven't watched it as much. And then the guys from Australia. What the hell? I just can't remember them now. But yeah, so there's a few that I watch that I like. I mean, Linus has some good stuff on there, but you know, critiquing other people's builds, when you watch some of his builds and he's dropping every component that he's putting in the computer on the floor, well, yeah, okay, you know who who are you to talk when you know about critiquing other people's builds? So, you know, as builders, we do I spend a lot of time with every single build, and I'm 100% confident in what I ship out the door and what I sell. I've had none of my builds come back, and that's probably over 40 builds that are out there, and none of them have come back. I started this a year ago, a year and a half ago. YouTube channel, I don't know when I started that, but yeah, maybe a year and a half ago, you know, when I mean, obviously Ryzen was already out. NVMEs and SSDs, I really don't. I think what happened was I bought an SSD for my upstairs computer, the one that I use 24/7, and that's it's a first gen Core i7 860. My God, yeah, that's what I use, which is fine for what I'm doing. And I think I bought an SSD, and I said, wow, the difference in speed is incredible. So, you know, and I discovered Ryzen, and I mean, we're really on the way up when it comes to, you know, NVMEs, SSDs. The Ryzen CPUs are absolutely fantastic, and Intel has had to get off their hands and start to make a comeback. I've built with Intel too, and I really like them. I like Intel also, but the AMD is just it's a pretty strong CPU. It can't match it. It can't match Intel's memory controller. By the way, I edit none of my videos. It's from beginning to end, and that's the way I do them. So the memory controller on Intel I find to be a little bit better than AMD's. Although on the 5600X it's very good. Better than the 3600. But the 3600 is a great chip. Most of the i3-10100, man, that is such a good chip. So I try, and I think I've still got like 4 3600s here. 5600X. I'm going to build the 3900X soon. I think I may put the 2080 water cooled, or I may put the 3090 in it. I don't know yet. But I got more graphics cards than I have CPUs. I really need to go out and buy some CPUs because I don't have any CPUs anymore. I really don't have anything. And I also have, is a 8600K from Intel. Pretty impressed with that. BuildZoid will be proud because I've got like crappy non-RGB 2133 Samsung B die in it, no heat sinks, and it is running at 3000 megahertz, and it's super fast, and the latency on this thing is about 48 milliseconds on the latency. So I'm pretty impressed with that. I was able to overclock that RAM. So, I mean, was it easy? No, it wasn't easy, but it was easier than this GSkill Trident Z, I'll tell you that. So, let's get on with it here because I'm spending way too much time. I'll go to my Zen timings, I'll just show you where we're at. There's my Tech 11 right there. My little stick on. And I'll show you where we are with this right now. So we've gone to, in order to get stability, I just couldn't get stability at 3600. I was getting RAM errors. So we lowered it down to 3533. Our F clock and our U clock and our M clock are all synchronized at 1700 and what is that, 57 megahertz, something of that sort. 1767. I should really clean my glasses because I can't see out of them. I'll just do that right now. So I can see the screen. And I'm going to go into BIOS and show you what we're doing there. It takes a long time to... by the way, this CPU, this 5600X, is not overclocked at all. But it will boost to... All-core, it boosts to about 4500. And single core 4650, 4700, in and around there. There are some settings in the BIOS, like the PBO scaler that you can increase. I've increased the TDP to 125 watts. It's a 95, is it 65 or not? I can't remember. I think it's a 95 watt TDP, so I've increased that to 125. Under 100% load, it's in the 70s, so it's not getting very extremely hot. So I've tested these timings right here that I have. So I'm running 16, 20, 20, 20. I wonder if you can see that. Not really. I gotta turn you a little bit here so we can see. There we go. That's a little better. I hope there's not too much glare there and that you can see. There might be a little glare off the motherboard, I'm not sure. I'm going to just turn off this light just to see if that makes a difference here. If I can reach it. Might be less glare, maybe not. No, doesn't really make much of a difference. How about if I move it over to the other side of the screen? Now I can't see it at all. I hope you can see this. A little bit. There's some of it you can't see. It must be the glare off the graphics card or something. I don't know where I'm getting the glare from. The lights are all behind. Oh, no they're not. This one is where I'm getting the glare from. Okay, I'm going to shut that one off. Let's plug this one back in. Go upstairs, shut the light off. Doesn't seem to have changed anything. It's ridiculous. What the hell am I getting the glare from? Maybe it's the RGB on the board. Or it could just be from the screen itself. I'm going to change the background here. Let's just go to a solid color, the old black. That works. And we might be able to see a little better. No, we still can't see a little better. I don't know what the heck. Maybe we can. Maybe it's just the way I'm looking at my own screen. There, we'll go back. Anyway, I'll read it to you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it, but I will read it to you. So our gear down mode on this is disabled. My command rate is 1T. 16, 20, 40. TRC is at 60, so we take the RCRD and we add the TRP to get us our 40, and then we add the TRP and the TRAS to get us our 60. Our RDS, RDL, I'm running 4.6 and TFA 16. I will try to reduce that to 4.4.16. Everybody should be able to run 4.4.16. WTRS, WTRL, I'm kind of in the tight category of 410 on this. 520 TRFC. The auto setting was 561, somewhere around there. I can't get it below 520. There's my SOC voltage, which says 1.08, so I'm running 1.1. DDP, I'm running 0.950. CCD and IOD. I thought I was running 950. It's showing 0.997. Maybe I'm running 1 volt on both of those. And of course my VDIM at 1.4. This is on auto, so it's 53.3. This is all auto settings, so this was set in the BIOS. I did set my drive strengths, so 60, 20, 20, 24. And that can help with stability by going to these settings. And I have set the, I can't remember what these are called, but your setup, I don't know. I got this off of somebody, an overclocking on RAM. Most of the time, Buildzoid doesn't even set these. So this was meant for stability. So I've set them at 63. At booted, I've just left them alone. Most of the time, everybody just leaves them on auto. So we'll go, let's just do a quick little mem test here. Not a mem test, but a memory speed. So this is MaxMem 2, downloadable, free. And we'll just start a bench. This motherboard does have a BIOS postcode reader. It's handy when you're trying to overclock memory. You do a lot of rebooting because you're only changing 2 timings at once, except when you're doing your primaries. You can do, well, you know, you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 timings. Other than that, you're doing 2 or 3 at a time, and that's it. I would do RRDL and _S and TFA all together, and that's where we had the 4.6.16 that most computers should be able to run 4.4.16. WTRS, WTRL, I do those 2 together. I'll show you which ones we do together. So we've got 41 megabyte read, 27 megabyte write, 55 megabyte copy, and 68.2 nanosecond latency. which gets us to 42 gigabytes per second. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And so this is GSkill 3200 megahertz memory. is what it is, and we're running at, like I said, 35 something. Okay, let's go into the BIOS. Find my keyboard. So I think, yeah, I've got a speaker on here, so I'll just wait till the beep before I start mashing the keyboard. If you don't have a speaker, then you just start mashing the delete key once you get the black screen, and it'll get you in the BIOS. Oh, this is a long restart. Usually doesn't take this much time, the restart. I don't know why it's taking so long. Oh God, why are you taking so long? There we go. There's my beep. There we go. Just walk you through the BIOS quickly so you can see I have everything on auto regarding the CPU. There's my, I do have the XMP profile enabled. And there's my memory multiplier there. So I wasn't stable at 3600, so I just dropped it 3533. Like I say, I do have it enabled. Here's my voltages. Here's what I'm 1.4 on my memory. My load line calibration for the CPU. This is on stock settings because I'm not overclocking, is medium, and my vCore SoC is medium also. All the other voltages are on auto. Let's just go over to peripherals. Here we'll go to the AMD overclocking. So my there's my SoC voltage, 1.1 or 1100. The 950 on the VDDP, 950 on the VDDG CCD. The IOD is 1050. I know my Tech 11 logo is in the way. Sorry. DDR and Infinity Fabric. As you can see, I'm really at what my memory is running at, which is 1767 times 2. So you set that at half. Yeah, gear down mode disabled, command rate 1T. I don't know why I do this in both locations, but there's my drive strengths. Let's get out of here. There's nothing in there. And we'll go back to our memory settings. Okay. So there's our memory, which we can adjust if we want to with the plus or the minus key. So 35.33. Cast latency 16, 20, 20, 40. The same thing we saw in our Zen timings. That does say 60. It's just my Tech 11 logo that's in the way. These are 16s. Our TRFC at 520. Yeah, our Tech 11 logo is really in the way. Let me get this out of here. Oh, now it's stuck on here? There we go. God. Okay, that's better. Now we can see. Yeah. So, yeah, there's our 4616. Some settings I still have set. I usually only adjust the TRFC. So this used to be, like I said, 560. It could have even been higher than that. I can't remember. SCL at 4 and another WR SCL at 444. Command rate 1T. As you see, there's the proc ODT that I have set on auto. And here's the 63 that your CAD bus setup timing. And the drive strengths. So a lot of times you'll see 24, 24, 24, 24, or 24, 20, 24, 24. Or this, and I haven't set any of the data bus configuration. I haven't set any of this. It's set on auto. I just kind of leave it there. There's nothing wrong with 1.4 volts. Depending on the die that's on your Samsung C die, I think it is, might not do well at anything above 1.35, where you get a little bit of negative scaling. What can I try and lower? I could try and get the SCLs to 2, but yeah, that might not post. These were the timings where I had the best performance of the memory, because when I had the RRDS and L set at 4416, within the margin of error, it wasn't quite as fast, although it should be because they're tighter timings. So I will eventually adjust the rest of these auto timings, except these. I'll leave these on auto. RTP, I could do something with that timing at 14. I'm not sure what I can get that to. I usually just play with them. I won't play with them now because, yeah, if it doesn't post, then I'll have to reboot. Then it'll get stuck on 22. But it's just a matter of going in here, and if you have a motherboard that will recover, and by recover I mean it will go back. So you want to always, basically when I overclock and it does post, I go back and I save my profile. So I have a saved profile of something that did post. And that's what you want to do. So adjust a couple of timings. If it posts, then go save your profile. You don't always have to go into Windows, but you know, once you get a few timings done, you might want to go into Windows and test your memory to see if there are any errors. Just because it posts doesn't mean you're not going to get any errors. You don't want any. So if you do too many timings at once, you really don't know which one it might be. Because I started over a couple of times on this because I didn't do that. And some of the errors were just multiple errors, one after the other. But this has been tested and now I have none. So we'll F10 to save our configuration. Just press enter and we'll post into Windows. Of course, still using my iPad. I haven't graduated to anything else yet. I don't know why, but you know, it works. For now, it works. For what I need to do. So here is Specky. Will just give us the specs of this computer. The ones it can figure out. Sometimes it takes all day. As it's doing now. There we go. Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. It's actually getting the memory speed right. As you can see, it's only showing the true memory speed, which is 1766 multiplied by 2. The Gigabyte X470 Aorus Gaming 7 Wi-Fi. I'm running 2 monitors, a Dell that you're looking at, and I have an HP IE's just right of it. It's a really nice monitor. I do have a Western Digital NVMe, a Samsung SSD, and that's all outside of the case, and a Western Digital Black 2 terabyte hard drive. I did have 2 NVMEs in here, but this board, the X470, it halves your PCI Express, and you end up running at 8x if you populate the second NVMe slot. B550s don't do that, where there's enough PCI Express lanes. Basically, that's the problem here. There aren't enough lanes, so if you populate the second NVMe slot, it takes some lanes away from your PCI Express graphics card where you're running an 8x instead of 16x. Not that it makes a hell of a lot of a difference, because it doesn't. Maybe a couple of frames per second, but that's it. But yeah, I don't want to lose a couple of frames per second, so I took that other NVMe out and I replaced it with an SSD instead, which is fine. Works for me. So, and everything I use is pretty much free, or open source. OpenOffice is on here, which is open source. CPU-Z, GPU-Z, Disk Genius, that's where I'll clone my OSs for my tiny PCs. Very good program, one of the best I've ever used. Test mem, which I run as an administrator when I do run it. So this will take an hour, hour and a half basically to run and test the memory. I see only one of my RGBs is working on my AIO because obviously, yeah, one of the fans is somewhere. Not the fan, but the plug-in is somewhere lost. Where is it? No. It's unplugged somewhere. Because they were working. Fine. Oh, typical. Oh yeah, I guess one of them is unplugged. Because I have 2 here. And I should, oh, there it is. Let's get it back working again. I should, the 2 should actually be working. Let's just plug it in the right way. There's 2 arrows on your RGB, so you want to, there we go. Whoops. Yeah, now they're both working again. Good. All right, so yeah, that's what I use to test the memory. So I'll run through the or I use memtest, which I have down here, and that's what I ran yesterday. Is memtest to test the memory, and I'll run 5 or 6 iterations of this. So I'm using about 12 gig of RAM that it's testing when it's testing it. And I'll let that run 300%, somewhere around there, maybe longer. And you have to do that when you're overclocking your RAM. Or even just tweaking the timing. So, you know, something that BuildZoid does is, yeah, he gets huge megahertz. But it's... when he says, yeah, I'll 24/7 something, that's when he knows that it's stable. But most of the time, you know, when it's not stable, it boots into Windows. Put it that way. You know, he gets that far. So that's good. It's still not easy to do to even get the thing to post. So he gets it in the Windows. But when he says he'll 24/7 something, that means that, yeah, he'll run it in his regular computer at the settings he has. So As I've said before, XMP is kind of for the masses. It'll kind of work on everything, right? So the timings are pretty loose on XMP. So you can enable XMP, but then doing manual timings or setting your timings manually will improve your memory performance and your computer's performance. So that's why I spend the time to do it. I do it with all my builds. Anything that goes out the door has manual memory timings, or tweaked memory timings, I guess you could call them. It does take me a long time, but you know, I just move from computer to computer. So that's the way I do that. So anyway, I'll show you some of the stuff I got before we have to say goodbye, because we're at 40 minutes, which is long enough to listen to me. If you guys have any ideas on what you'd like me to show, it seems that my repasting videos for graphics cards are pretty popular, or somewhat popular. I have the most views. Like I said, I receive no funding from any of the major manufacturers, from Gigabyte, from MSI. They don't send me products. They don't send me anything. So what I test and what I try, I give you my honest opinion on it, and I build a lot of stuff. I can tell you the 3600, the 3600X, the 1300X, you can't go wrong on those CPUs. On those builds, you know, use decent motherboards. The NVIDIA cards are still faster than AMD's. AMD's good though. There's nothing, you know, half a dozen, 1/6 of the other. The NVIDIA cards are just a little bit faster, is what I found. I build a lot of white cases because I really like stuff in the white cases. I don't know what I can RAM. You know, it's I heard that Crucial Ballistic was no longer going to be around, but Crucial Ballistics uses Micron E-die, I would believe, because either Crucial is owned by Micron or Micron is owned by Crucial. I think Crucial is owned by Micron. Really good memory. You can't go wrong with it. Anyway, when you're buying memory, if you're buying memory, try and buy even timings. So, you know, look at the sticker, and it's, you know, if it's 16, 16, 16, 16, 32, 34, yeah. Or 15s or 17s. That's kind of what you would look for, is even timings. 16, 18, 18, 36, kind of generic stuff. Can be C-die, Samsung C-die, or different die. I'd stay away from the Chinese stuff. I don't know why, but I would. I think that's the bins that's the, yeah, that they sweep up off the floor. I don't know. I have quite a bit of RAM. Yeah, I've got Patriot Viper, I've got Triden Z, I've got Samsung, where that's what I like about the older RAM without the ridiculous RGB and the heat sinks on it, is that I can actually read the chips themselves to see you know, what the die is, because a lot of times you don't get much information off the sticker. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. So you kind of have to do a search to find out what die you're working with. That's going to kind of give you an idea of how much voltage you can put into it, how far it will go. You know, because there's some cheaper stuff out there. Like I say, the stuff they sweep up off the floor. So a lot of times if you're buying really cheap RAM and it's brand new, well, yeah, you get what you pay for. So you're better off to buy quality RAM, a quality motherboard. Yeah, you should buy everything quality, I guess, because there's only so much. But you can buy lower a lower speed RAM and increase the speed through overclocking by putting a little more voltage in it, which is perfectly safe. It's not going to, if it takes 6 months off the life of the RAM, in 15 years, I'm sure you will have replaced your PC by then. But if you're performance oriented, then, you know, be reasonable, but overclock your RAM, get your CPU to run as fast as you can, staying within thermal limits. You know, don't get too close to the edge or you're going to fall over. And the same thing with your graphics card. There's nothing wrong with, you know, running an MSI Afterburner and increasing the fan speed, number one, because they like these cards to be quiet. I like them to cool. So if I'm playing a game, I'm more interested in the game than, you know, than my fan speed on my. You know, I don't want it to crash. So, you know, you can use MSI Afterburner to increase the fan speed, and maybe you can increase the core and the memory a little bit. If you're buying a used graphics card, one way to test it is to install a graphics card and run MSI Afterburner to see if you can overclock the RAM and the core, for that matter. If you can get something out of them stable, then yeah, then it's good. But if you can't at all, if there's no headroom whatsoever, then that card, maybe it was used for mining, who knows? But from what I've been told by people who work on these cards, is that it's the memory that becomes the problem. The memory chips that may go south on a card that was mined 24/7, that was mining 24/7. So that's something that you want to. That's one way to test it. If the memory will overclock and run stable at an overclock, then it should be good to go. But anyway, I digress. 47 minutes. We're going to end this, and I'm just going to flip you around here. Hopefully, if I don't screw this up. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I purchased. Here we go. There. And I'll turn you around this way. Sorry. Probably have my finger over it. I do. Whoops. Wrong way. That's my ugly mug. Yeah, so I bought a 3060 Ti. This is the 5600 XT. GTX 1080 Ti, an RX 580, 8 gig. Don't know why I bought that. And another GTX 1080 Ti underneath the 580. Yeah, this is how crowded. There's my Ryzen 9. This is all my memory here. So I have most of this. It's all DDR4, pretty much. Yeah, it's getting a little crazy in here. This is the basement. So there's a 6700 XT and the 5700 XT that I purchased. And yeah, I got stuff everywhere. All my motherboards and fans and stuff are over there in the corner. This house is 120 years old. It was actually shipped on a boat. On a boat. Hello. It was shipped on a train from Ottawa, from Eaton's. It's an Eaton's home. And it was shipped to Manitoba, and then it was constructed. So I do run dual monitors. So that's what we were just looking at. And this is a bench build. So this is the computer we were on, and this is the way I start my builds. Yeah, it's looks a little scrambly, but it's not really. It's no different than Buildzoid stuff. So yeah, that's my Cooler Master AIO, etc., etc. There's the Triden Z memory, and here, I'll get some of this stuff out of the way, because I have to put stuff on top of stuff in order to use my iPad to do this. But there's the Sapphire. Yeah, it's It's great, and it syncs with my motherboard. So I did nothing. I just plugged this card in, and then I went, wow, this is pretty nice. It does use two 8-pin connectors. So I contacted the guy. He had a few of them, and I bought another 2 of them because this belongs to a buddy of mine. And I contacted him. I said, you know, I'm not giving you that card back. I really like it, and it syncs with my motherboard. But the guy I bought it off of, it's exactly the same card. So I kind of really like that it syncs with my motherboard. So this is the X470 MSI, I believe. No, this is a Gigabyte. X470. I like the RGB. It has piles RGB on it, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, this is going to be a nice build, and it is going in this case down here, which I think is a Corsair. So yeah, but it's been there for a while. I just haven't got around to doing it. And this would be one of the cases that I purchased on one of these salvage cases. This is a Corsair 7000X full tower. I mean, just a wicked case, my God. But it weighs a ton. But I just put it up for sale. I'm not going to build in it. This is that ITX build. So it's Core i3 10100, 16 gig of RAM, and an RX 480 graphics card. It's a little monster, this thing. I was pretty impressed by it. And then I've got a Ryzen 5 3600, I believe, in a Corsair case. That's got a 980 Ti, 32 gig of RAM. This is one of the 3600s, 32 gig of RAM. I'm not sure on the graphics card. This might have a GTX 980 Ti, which I might change for one of the 1080 Ti's. And yeah, there's one behind here. This is the 8600K that's underneath this stuff. And then I've got, this is the 1700X. I know it's a little bit hard to see. I'm sorry about that. But that's the 1700X. And it has, or does this have the 980 Ti? This one might have the 980 Ti. Anyway, yeah, I got to sell some of these builds so that I can build some more. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'd like to get some other people to watch stuff. And if you want, if you have a request on doing anything, just let me know. If you want me to try and overclock certain RAM sticks, just let me know, and I'll do that for you, or anything else for that matter. So anyway, this is Jim from Tech Lovin'. Have a great day, and it's almost Thanksgiving. I think that's on Monday. I know it's a holiday in here, so enjoy your Thanksgiving. And if you're in the US, I guess it's not Thanksgiving, but it will be. It is here in Canada. So bye for now. Thanks a lot.